It was late in the evening. The kind of night when the city felt quiet but alive. Glowing under neon lights. Inside a small retro American diner. The clinking of plates and soft chatter blended with music playing from an old jukebox. Most customers were focused on their meals, barely noticing anything around them. But then something happened that changed everything. A young waitress named Lena, no older than her early 20s, walked across the diner with a warm bowl of soup in her hands. Her smile was gentle, her posture careful, and even though her shift had been exhausting, she carried herself with kindness. She wore a bright red apron, and her dark hair was tied neatly into a bun. She wasn't just serving food, she was trying to make someone's day a little easier. At a corner booth sat an elderly man, his clothes worn, his hands trembling slightly as he held them together. His eyes were tired, his face lined with years of hardship. He looked like someone who hadn't eaten a real meal in days. Most people in the diner had glanced at him, judged him quietly, and returned to their conversations. But Lena didn't look away. She approached him with the bowl of soup, placing it in front of him with a warm smile. "Here," she said softly, "this will help you warm up." The old man blinked, surprised. "But, I told you I don't have enough money. I can't pay for this." Lena simply shook her head. "It's okay, just eat, you look like you need it." What Lena didn't notice was the man standing a few tables behind her, arms crossed. Expression hardened. The diner manager, Mr. Collins, had been watching the whole thing. He wasn't impressed. In fact, his face showed the complete opposite. To him, kindness didn't matter. Rules did. He stared at Lena as she handed the soup to the old man. And the anger in his eyes grew sharper. He had warned her before about wasting company resources. But Lena couldn't stand by and watch someone suffer. She believed deeply that helping others mattered more than following petty rules. The old man lifted the spoon with shaky hands. "Thank you, young lady, no one has been this kind to me in a long time." Lena smiled again and said, "Everyone deserves a warm meal." Those simple words would soon cost her more than she expected. Because in just a few minutes, Mr. Collins would call her to the back office. And by tomorrow, the old man she helped would return, carrying a secret that would change her life forever. The warm moment between Lena and the old man didn't last long. Before she could even check on her other tables, she heard a sharp voice behind her. "Lena, office, now." The tone alone made her stomach drop. She turned and saw Mr. Collins, the diner manager, glaring at her from the hallway near the kitchen. His jaw was tight, his hands on his hips, and his eyes were filled with the kind of irritation she had learned to recognize all too well. Lena gave the old man a reassuring nod before slowly walking toward the back. She hoped maybe, just maybe, this wouldn't turn into something bigger than it needed to be. But the moment the office door shut, she knew she was wrong. Mr. Collins didn't sit, he didn't breathe, he just started. "Did we or did we not talk about giving away free food?" Lena swallowed. "Mr. Collins, he looked starving, I couldn't just." "That's not the point," he snapped, cutting her off. "This is a business, not a charity. You don't get to decide who gets free meals." Lena kept her voice calm. "I used my employee meal credit for him. It didn't cost the diner anything. I just wanted to help." But Mr. Collins didn't care. He never cared about reasons, only rules. "You're not paid to want to help, Lena, you're paid to follow policy. And policy says no freebies. Ever. For anyone." She pressed her lips together, trying to hold back her frustration. "If you had seen him, you would have done the same." His eyes narrowed. "Don't tell me what I would do. You're creating a problem. Customers notice when staff play favorites." Lena blinked. "Favorites? He's just an old man who needed a meal." Mr. Collins stepped closer, voice low and cold. "Do it again, and you'll be written up. One more violation, and you're out. Understand?" Lena nodded slowly, feeling that familiar heaviness settle in her chest. "Yes, sir." "Good, now get back to work," he said, waving her off like she was nothing more than a nuisance. As Lena stepped out of the office, she caught a glimpse of the old man still sitting at the booth, eating quietly, unaware of the trouble she had just walked into for his sake. She took a deep breath. Even if it cost her, she still believed she had done the right thing. But she didn't know yet This was only the beginning. Lena walked back onto the dining floor, still feeling the sting of Mr. Collins' warning echoing in her mind. She tried to keep her breathing steady, tried to move as if everything were normal, but her hands trembled slightly as she picked up an empty tray. She knew she was on thin ice. One more mistake, and she could lose the only job she had. Yet when she looked toward the corner booth, she saw the elderly man slowly rising from his seat, his hands shaking as he searched his pockets again. Immediately, she hurried over. "Sir, please don't get up," Lena said gently. "You're all right, stay seated." The old man pulled out a small paper bag of loose coins, his expression full of embarrassment. This is all I have," he murmured. "I want to pay something. Even a little." Lena's heart broke a little. The entire bag didn't look like it amounted to more than $1. She shook her head softly and pushed the bag back toward him. "You don't have to pay me anything," she said. "Please keep it. You might need it later." The old man looked up at her, his eyes tired but warm. "Young lady, not many people are this kind anymore." Lena smiled gently. "I just want you to be okay." But behind her, a cold voice cut into the moment. "Lena." Her body froze. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. "Mr. Collins." He stepped closer, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "What did I just tell you about breaking policy?" Lena spun around, trying to stay calm. He wasn't asking for more food. "Mr. Collins." He was trying to pay. You just ignored me again." Collins snapped. "You're supposed to follow instructions, not play charity." The old man tried to speak up. "Sir, she did nothing wrong. I insisted on paying." But Collins shut him down instantly. "Sir, if you cannot afford to eat here, then you should not be here." Lena felt anger rise in her chest. He's not causing trouble. He's just hungry. Why is that so hard to understand? Collins glared at her. "Break room, now." The old man touched her arm lightly. "You don't deserve this," he whispered. Lena swallowed hard and forced a small smile. "I'll be fine." But inside, she knew the truth. Her kindness had become a problem in this diner. And the clash between her values and Collins' rules was only getting worse. The door to the break room closed behind Lena with a heavy thud, sealing her in the small, dimly lit space. She stood still for a moment, her heart thumping in her chest, knowing exactly what was coming. She had pushed Collins too far, not because she was disrespectful, but simply because she refused to stop being human. Collins entered seconds later, his expression tight with irritation. He didn't bother sitting down. He didn't even give her space to speak. "Lena," he began sharply, "I gave you a clear warning. One single warning." Lena lifted her chin slightly. "I didn't break any rule. I didn't give him more food. You helped him," Collins snapped. "Again, after I explicitly told you not to." Lena forced herself to stay calm. "He tried to pay with a few coins. I only told him to keep them. I didn't want him to feel ashamed. And that," Collins said coldly, "is exactly why you shouldn't be here. You act like this is your own charity organization." Lena frowned. "I just showed compassion. That shouldn't be a crime." Collins stepped closer, voice low and final. "This is a business, not a shelter. I need employees who follow instructions, not ones who make up their own rules." There was a long pause. Then he delivered the blow she'd been fearing. "You're fired, Lena, effective immediately." For a moment, Lena couldn't breathe. She knew it was coming, but hearing the words still felt like a punch to the chest. "You're firing me for being kind?" she whispered. "I'm firing you for insubordination," Collins replied. "Collect your things." A tightness formed in her throat, but she refused to let him see her break. She removed her red apron slowly, folded it with trembling hands, and placed it on the table between them. "If helping someone hungry is considered insubordination," she said quietly, "then I'm glad I broke your rule." Collins didn't respond. Lena turned and walked out of the break room. As she stepped back onto the dining floor, the old man was still sitting in his booth, watching her with worried eyes. She gave him a small, sad smile. A smile that said it's okay even though nothing felt okay. Then she pushed open the diner door and stepped out into the cold evening air. She had no idea that losing her job was the first step toward something far bigger waiting for her. Lena walked home under the cold evening sky, her steps slow and heavy. The neon lights from storefronts reflected in puddles along the street, casting shifting colors across the pavement. But nothing could brighten the weight she carried. Being fired was more than losing a job. It felt like losing the tiny bit of stability she had left in her life. When she reached her small apartment, she pushed the door open and let the silence swallow her. She dropped her bag on the table and sank into the nearest chair. For a long moment, she just sat there, staring blankly at the wall, trying to process everything. Finally, she emptied her wallet onto the table. A few coins rolled out, clinking softly against the wood. Next to them lay a stack of bills she hadn't been able to pay yet. Lena exhaled shakily. This isn't enough, not even close, she whispered to herself. She leaned her elbows on the table and rubbed her face with her hands. All day she had tried to remain strong, for the old man, for her coworkers, even for Collins who treated her unfairly. But here, alone in her small, dim apartment, the reality hit her full force. She felt tears burn behind her eyes. Why does doing the right thing have to hurt this much? It wasn't that she regretted helping the old man. She knew she would do it again, no matter the consequences. But now she had no paycheck coming in, no backup plan, no idea how she was going to pay rent or keep the lights on next month. Her stomach tightened with fear. She walked to her bed and sat down, feeling the springs creak under her weight. The city lights shimmered through the window, but she barely noticed. She hugged her knees, letting her forehead rest against them. What am I going to do now? She whispered into the silence. But as she sat there, feeling defeated, a small memory surfaced, the old man's gentle smile, the gratitude in his eyes when she gave him that bowl of soup. Even through her despair, that memory warmed her heart. If I had to choose again, she murmured, I'd still help him. She didn't know it yet, but life has a strange way of rewarding the purest intentions. Sometimes, it pushes people to the edge, only to lift them higher than they ever imagined. And the very next day, the man she helped, the one everyone thought was just a poor stranger, would return with a truth powerful enough to change her future forever. The next morning arrived far too quickly for Lena. She hadn't slept much, and when she finally managed a few hours of rest, she woke with the same knot of worry in her chest. She got dressed slowly out of habit, only to stop halfway and remember she had nowhere to go, no uniform to wear, no shift to clock into. Meanwhile, at the diner, the day started like any other. The morning crowd filled the booths. Coffee cups clattered against saucers, and the staff hurried from table to table. Collins stood behind the counter, looking as self-important as ever. Then the door opened. The elderly man from the previous day stepped inside. But this time, something about him was different. He walked with more purpose, his posture steady, his expression calm and alert. He scanned the diner briefly, then headed straight toward the counter. Collins forced a tight smile. Sir, can I help you? I'm looking for the young waitress from yesterday, the old man said. Lena. Collins' smile faded. Well, she's no longer employed here. She was let go. The old man didn't flinch. I know, that's why I'm here. Collins stiffened. If you're here to complain, the decision stands. She violated policy. The old man's eyes sharpened. Interesting, because from what I saw, she was the only one here who treated me with dignity. A few employees overheard and paused what they were doing. Collins let out a short laugh. Sir, you don't understand how this business works. No, the old man interrupted firmly. You don't understand what kindness looks like. Collins bristled. Look, she brought this on herself. The old man stepped closer. Really? For doing the right thing? For making sure a hungry man didn't feel ashamed? Something about his voice made Collins uneasy. Sir, who exactly are you? The old man reached into his jacket and pulled out a small leather wallet. He set it on the counter but didn't open it yet. I think, he said calmly, it's time you learned the truth about the person you fired, and the person you thought you were talking to yesterday. The rest of the diner fell silent. A few customers turned their heads. Something significant was about to unfold. And Collins, for the first time in a long time, looked genuinely afraid. The old man tapped the wallet with one finger. Let's start, he said, with who I really am. The diner had never been this quiet. Even the sound of silverware seemed to pause as every person in the room watched the elderly man place his small leather wallet on the counter. Collins stared at it as if it were a ticking bomb. The old man opened it slowly and pulled out a single metal card. Polished, heavy, impressive. He laid it on the counter for everyone to see. Founder and owner, Whitmore Hospitality Group. Collins' face drained of color. A few employees gasped. Someone whispered, "That's the company that owns all of these restaurants." The old man nodded calmly. "Yes, including this diner." Collins stumbled over his words. "Yes, sir, if I had known." "That's exactly why I didn't tell you," Mr. Whitmore said, his voice firm but controlled. "I came here yesterday not as the owner, not as a wealthy man, but as someone who simply needed help. And what I got was a reminder of how people treat those they believe have nothing." He looked around at the staff. "Most of you ignored me. Some looked at me with annoyance. But one person, one young woman, was kind to me without hesitation." The room seemed to shrink under his words. "Lena," he said softly, "she treated me like a human being." Collins swallowed hard. "Sir, she broke the rules. I was only enforcing policy." "Enforcing policy?" Mr. Whitmore repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Is that what you call humiliating a hungry man at the counter? Is that what you call firing someone for having compassion?" Collins' mouth opened but no sound came out. Mr. Whitmore continued, "Lena gave me food without shaming me. She protected my dignity when you tried to take it from me. She showed more heart in 5 minutes than you have in 5 years of managing this place." Several employees exchanged looks, suddenly recognizing the truth behind his words. Collins tried again, voice shaky. "Sir, I didn't know who you were." "That's the point," Mr. Whitmore said sharply. "Kindness shouldn't depend on who someone is." The old man looked toward the entrance, as if expecting Lena to walk through the door any moment. "She deserved better than how you treated her. Much better." He leaned in slightly. "And now, I intend to make things right." Collins froze. Mr. Whitmore placed the metal card back into his wallet. "The first mistake was how you treated her yesterday. The second was firing her. The third," he paused, "was thinking it would end there." The diner held its breath. "And now," he said, stepping back, "I want her found immediately. I need to speak with her." A ripple of tension spread through the staff. Because everyone could feel it. This wasn't just an apology coming. It was the beginning of something much bigger. After revealing his identity, Mr. Whitmore settled into a nearby booth, and the tension inside the diner shifted from shock to curiosity. Employees who had once ignored him now watched him with wide, uneasy eyes. Collins hovered nervously near the counter, unsure whether to sit, stand, or disappear. One brave employee finally asked, "Sir, why did you come here looking like that? Why pretend to be poor?" Mr. Whitmore folded his hands on the table. "Because when people know who I am, they treat me differently. Too differently. I wanted to see how my staff acted when they thought I couldn't offer them anything." He glanced around the diner, his eyes calm but sharp. "And sadly, most places have forgotten what real hospitality looks like." Another server spoke softly, "But you went to other restaurants too, didn't you?" He nodded. 3 of them. In each one, I was judged or ignored. Some staff barely looked at me. Others treated me like a nuisance." He paused. "Except for one person." Everyone knew exactly who he meant. "Lena," he continued, "was the only employee who treated me with kindness without expecting anything in return. She didn't hesitate. She didn't judge. She didn't worry about looking good for management." He smiled slightly, remembering, she just did what was right, even when it cost her. Collins shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, if I had known." Mr. Whitmore cut him off. "No, kindness shouldn't depend on status. If she were rude to someone rich, then polite to me because of my money, would you still defend her?" Silence. "I needed to know who among my staff had genuine character. Someone with heart. Someone who could lead." The employees exchanged surprised looks. "Lead? Was he serious?" Mr. Whitmore continued, "This diner, and every business under my company, needs people who understand that hospitality is about people first. Profits second." Lena proved she understood that better than anyone. Collins took a hesitant step forward. So, what happens now? What happens now, Whitmore said firmly, is that I make things right. Just then, the front door opened, and Lena stepped inside, still unsure why she'd been called back. Her eyes widened when she saw the entire diner staring at her. She recognized the elderly man instantly. But the confident way he sat, the respect he commanded, it was all new. Lena, Mr. Whitmore said warmly, rising to his feet, thank you for coming. We have something important to discuss. And in that moment, every person in the diner sensed the same thing. Her life was about to change. Lena stepped inside the diner slowly, her heart pounding with uncertainty. She had been confused when Collins called her earlier, and now the sight of every employee staring at her made her even more uneasy. But when she saw the elderly man, sitting upright, speaking confidently, no longer trembling or unsure, she froze. He looked like a completely different person. Lena, he greeted her warmly, thank you for coming. She approached cautiously. Sir, I'm not sure what's going on. Why am I here? Mr. Whitmore gave her a gentle smile. Because there's something I need to tell you. Something important. He gestured for her to sit. She hesitated, then slowly lowered herself into the booth across from him. The room around them remained silent, every pair of eyes fixed on the moment unfolding. Yesterday, he began, I wasn't here as the owner of this diner. I came in disguise because I wanted to see how my employees treat someone who appears to have nothing. Lena blinked in surprise. You own this place? And many others, he said, but titles don't matter. What matters is what I saw. His voice softened. You treated me with compassion. You didn't ask what I had or what I could offer. You just helped. Lena lowered her gaze. It was the right thing to do. Exactly, he said, leaning slightly forward. And that's why I need someone like you in my company. She looked up, confusion filling her eyes. Me? But, I don't understand. Mr. Whitmore continued, we have dozens of restaurants. And we need leaders who understand hospitality not just as a job, but as a responsibility. Someone who treats people with dignity. Someone who sees humans, not transactions. He paused. You've shown more leadership in a single shift than some managers show in years. Collins winced, but said nothing. Lena shook her head slowly. But I don't have the experience for anything like that. Experience can be taught, he said gently. Character cannot. The words hit her harder than any compliment she had ever received. Then, with complete sincerity, he extended his hand to her. Lena, I would like to hire you as an assistant manager at one of my restaurants. A fresh start, a better salary, a career path, and a place where your kindness is seen as strength, not a weakness. Her breath caught. Assistant manager? Her? It felt impossible. She looked at his hand, then at his eyes, full of trust, warmth, and belief. Finally, she placed her trembling hand into his. I would be honored, she whispered. And in that single moment, Lena stepped out of the life she had always known, into the future she had never dared to imagine. Weeks passed, and Lena's life transformed in ways she could never have imagined. The girl who once walked home with fear in her chest now stepped into a bright, bustling restaurant each morning with purpose. Her new assistant manager badge rested proudly on her uniform, and for the first time, she felt respected, truly respected. Her co-workers at the new restaurant greeted her warmly. Customers appreciated her calm, kind demeanor. Even on the busiest days, Lena carried herself with confidence, drawing from the same compassion that had cost her a job but won her a future. One afternoon, while reviewing the weekly schedule at the front desk, she heard a familiar voice. How's my new assistant manager doing? Lena turned and saw Mr. Whitmore standing near the entrance, dressed sharply, his posture firm yet friendly. He looked healthier, livelier, worlds apart from the fragile man she'd met that day in the diner. She smiled. Doing my best. It's been a big change. A good one, I hope, he replied. The best, she said honestly. Mr. Whitmore looked around the restaurant, observing the staff, the atmosphere, the warmth. This is what hospitality should look like. Not rules above humanity, but people taking care of people. Lena nodded. I just try to treat everyone the way I'd want to be treated. That's exactly why you're here, he said. Kindness is rare. Lena, And powerful. It saved me yesterday, and it saved you today. She felt emotion rise in her chest, gratitude, disbelief, pride. I'm still shocked you chose me. I didn't choose you, he corrected gently. You chose yourself the moment you helped me without expecting anything in return. He rested a hand on her shoulder. And remember this: generosity multiplies. What you gave me that night, dignity, warmth, compassion, I'm simply returning in a way that matches the size of your heart. Lena swallowed hard, feeling tears prick her eyes. As Mr. Whitmore prepared to leave, he added, this is only the beginning. I see leadership in you. One day, you may run an entire restaurant, maybe even a whole region. Lena laughed softly, overwhelmed but hopeful. One step at a time. One step, he agreed, but you're walking in the right direction. When he walked out, Lena looked around the restaurant, her restaurant. In a sense, the staff smiled at her. Customers waved, and for the first time, she saw a future built not on fear or survival, but on purpose and heart. The girl who was fired for kindness had risen because of it. And her life, once uncertain and filled with doubt, had changed forever.